So we have the spectrum up here. Is there anything you'd like to highlight particularly?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have several features marked here. So I call them features. They're these, what I just referred to as bumps and wiggles. But what you're seeing here is a telltale signature, the chemical fingerprint of water vapor in these atmospheres, in the atmosphere of this specific exoplanet. And the other thing we can tell actually is that there's evidence of clouds and hazes because the water features are not quite as large as we predicted. So we can take that and infer that there are presence of clouds and hazes.
Right. Now, one thing that we really want to make sure people understand is with this particular planet, this is a hot world. It's actually closer to its star than Mercury is to our sun. And so we're not looking at liquid water here, but we're looking instead at sort of steam, water vapor.
Yes, this is an exoplanet. It's about the size of Jupiter, about half the mass of Jupiter. It orbits around a sun-like star, but it does it every about 3.5 days. Right. So it's extremely hot, extremely close in, nothing like our solar system planets, but that's okay.
Wait,
because
but isn't this
what
like
we're seeing is, again, the first exoplanet data from Webb, and this is just the beginning. We're going to start pushing down to further smaller planets and being able to take measurements just like this with the NIRS instrument that was built by the Canadian Space Agency, but also there's three other science instruments that will add to our knowledge in the infrared, as well as direct imaging modes along with the transit method. So there's a lot more to come.
And I guess one thing we should mention is not only are we going to be looking at planets that are more like the Earth in the future, but we'll also be looking at planets in our own solar system.
Absolutely, yes. We're going to have exciting data from planets in our solar system, from Mars,
it's so cringe that light
outward,
moves
as well
so
as asteroids
slowly.
and comets. So stay tuned for a lot more to come.
Thank you so much,
What do you
Nicole.
mean, like,
Thank you so much for
move
telling us
slowly?
about the spectrum.
It's cringe. We can only see the past. It's just cringe.
So we have 3 more big
Light
image
moves
reveals,
pretty
and with
fast.
that
There's
new and more
nothing
exciting
that's
science.
recorded
But first, let's take a
that
look
we
back
have
at the journey
recorded
that
in
brought us to
science
this
that
moment.
travels faster than
Celebrations
but it's not
of
fast
Twitter
enough
only
because we can't
possible with
see the
years of
current
hard work
times
from a
then.
cast of thousands.
We're seeing the
When a new
past.
mission is being built, even the most enthusiastic space
that's
fans
just
only get to see
our
dramatic moments in
apparatus
its
that we
life
have.
cycle,
It's not-
the
it's
news
not
and images
light's
that come out in
problem.
updates and
It's
press
the
releases.
telescopes
But that
and
doesn't
what we're
really give you
able
the
to
sense of the
capture.
huge effort that goes on behind the scenes every day. The plans, schedules, and organization to keep
We're only
everything
as
moving
strong as our
forward really
scientific
happens, for the most part, out of
equipment,
people's
you know?
gaze.
No, I
Webb
mean,
started as an
there won't be
idea that took
anything
root at NASA
positive.
Goddard.
You would have to-
It grew first
you would
into
have to go
planning
fast
teams,
to like
research
catch up, which
projects,
is impossible.
schematics, requirements. Then
Yeah,
it
we
began
don't
a long
have
journey to
anything that
become
could
real
travel
with the
even-
development of
even-
new technologies, cutting-edge engineering,
Even a
and finally
little bit even
fabrication, putting it all
close to
together.
the speed of light.
Let's take a brief look back
So
at the
if you look
visionary
at
journey to how we all
far
got here
away it
today.
is in like miles,
So today was the
and then you think
final
about how fast
closeout
our
of the
fastest
first
like,
Okay, guys, I can hear
ships
root
can
web,
go,
but
pretty
rocket ships or
emotional
whatever.
moment to be in
Then
there
you see
and
how long it
actually,
takes to get there,
you know,
which would
closing
be,
it up
you
for
know,
the very
trillions
last
of
time,
fucking
right? You know,
years.
you're the last one to touch this.
Hold on, let me listen to this. What is this?
So that was the final operation.
Yeah, it makes sense,
and
though.
Once that fitting is closed out, there's no more touching of the vehicle. We're ready for launch.
The James Webb Space Telescope. Born from the desires of astronomers, achieved with newly invented technology, is the culmination of 20 years of work.
It's not a lot of tax money. It's just not. It's like 0.5%.
Humanity has unlimited questions about our universe. Engineering a way to investigate them requires enormous creativity.
Webb has been a trade-off between engineering performance, what the astronomers want, risk. In fact, when we started 20 years ago, we were actually looking at an 8-meter telescope.
Developing the most sensitive instruments. And testing, and more testing.
Oh, it's an individual machine.
And so you don't want to build one that's just incrementally better than what you've got. Because if that's the case, you would just observe longer on the telescope that you already got. And so every time NASA builds a new astrophysics mission, a new telescope, it needs to be way more sensitive, way more capable than anything we've ever built before.
We all got together in that conference room and we played real time as the images came down from the spacecraft, the very first diffraction limited images ever obtained with Webb. And what we collectively saw as a group was the highest resolution infrared image taken from space ever.
It sounds like an Apple ad.
If you're just joining
You
us,
see the
I'm Michelle
infrared
Fowler at
shit? That's
NASA's
what
Goddard Space Flight
the Webb
Center,
one
and you are
actually
watching
does.
live
You have to, like,
coverage of the release
colorize
of
it
the
and
first
blend it with
science
other
images from the James Webb Space Telescope. So it's appropriate now that I send the broadcast to our colleagues and friends at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore. That's the scientific nerd center of the entire Webb mission.
Nerd.
So hello, good morning, Alex. The show is yours.
Hey, Michelle. Welcome to the Space Telescope Science Institute. I'm Alex Lockwood.
Bro.
With Carl Gordon, who is an astronomer and one of the key people in delivering the images that you're going to see here today. But actually, before we get into the amazing images, we're going to talk a little bit about where we are. We're standing here outside of the Mission Operations Center, which is the key central hub for Webb. For the past 6 months, scientists and engineers have been working 24/7 since they took control of the telescope 30 minutes after launch to prepare for today and for the amazing science to come. Through all of the major deployments, focusing, aligning the telescope, and calibrating those 4 amazing science instruments, it was all done in this building. And from here on out, we'll have daily communications with the telescope,
the Indian
including
space
sending
lander,
commands
moonlander.
and downloading data with the help of the Deep
died.
Space Network. In addition to mission operations, we are also the home of science operations. Well, what does that mean? Every year, we solicit proposals from astronomers across the country and the world for what they would like to look at with Webb. Then we hold a rigorous selection process to select the ideas that will best utilize Webb to study and understand our universe. When the data come down and astronomers analyze their results, we are the lucky ones who get to share that data and those amazing science results with you. And we knew that today was going to be so exciting with the first images, so we've actually been preparing for years. Here is Klaus Pontoppidan, project scientist for Webb and the technical lead for the first images,
Yeah, it's been a years
to tell you
process.
about the process of the past few years of
My first
selecting the
email
target.
related to the first images was back from 2016. So back then, a committee was created, and this committee was charged with coming up with a long list of targets for the first images. And the reason for that is that the observatory can't see the entire sky at any given time. And this is because you want to avoid the mirror seeing direct sunlight to keep it cold. And it actually had to be quite a long list. We ended up with about 70 targets, from which we had to select only a handful. You know, what would create the most beautiful images, what would highlight the instruments, the different 4 science instruments for Webb, and what would highlight the 4 major science themes for Webb. And it's a celebration as well of the beginning of science observations.
And we knew that selecting the images was just the beginning, that we would need a trained eye to take these exquisite data and pull out the beauty and the science potential. So here's Jody Pasquale and Elisa Pagan to tell you about how they processed these beautiful images.
Josephine.
He's on the xQc Reddit.
We're basically translating light that we can't see into light that we can see by applying color like red, green, and blue to the different filters that we have from Webb. And the reason we want to color the images is because there's actually more that you can get, more information that you can get from the image if you see it in color.
So it's a matter of picking and choosing filters and colors that enhance the details and the structure in the image itself.
So the picture is black and white.
The shortest wavelengths of infrared light can assign those blue colors, and then move our way down to green and red as we go to longer and longer wavelengths.
And then we additively combine those together to get our full color image.
Yeah, but how do you know if it's the real color?
But there is a lot of aesthetics that are involved in this. And painstakingly going through and cleaning these images up with an attention to detail, a level of detail like at the pixel level in every image.
I don't know
So
exactly how
when
they
I'm
process
working
it, but
on
the
astronomical data, it is this sort of marriage between art and science. When you're choosing colors for the filters, you really are trying to show the different details and the processes that are happening in astronomical images. But at the end of the day, you want it to be very compelling. You want it to be very beautiful because space is beautiful.
These stars suck.
space is beautiful, but if it's not raw, like.
And after
not
those images
edited,
were processed,
kinda-
it was a
kinda
select few of us, very lucky few of us, who got
Infrared
to see the
telescope, not
first
color. I
images.
don't know what color it is. Put in.
Oh my god, it They needed it to be infrared to collect like as much data as they could, like information about
So we
actual
had a
galaxies
team of
and
about
shit.
30 people who are producing these images, and we feel incredibly privileged to be the ones who are the first to see these science-like images. When we saw the first data come down of real targets,
The wavelength.
people were speechless, and there were emotions. Because immediately we could see how amazing this observatory will be. The detail, the sharpness, the depth. And when we saw the first color images, we knew that we had a winner.
And now, we are ready to see Webb's first image of a star dying, a planetary nebula called the Southern Ring. Let's do it.
Okay, it's nice.
Oof.
Wow. Wow.
It's dying.
This near-infrared image is, wow, the detail.
That they hinge.
Oh.
That's insane.
That.
Who's yelling in the office?
Wow. Okay. Well, here we are. We have a near-infrared image on our left. We're on maybe your
audio
right.
team's getting yelled at right
and
now.
here on the right, we have a near-infrared image. And so I'm here with Carl, our astronomer specialist. Can you tell us what we're looking at in these images?
So this is a planetary nebula. It's caused by a dying star that has expelled a large fraction of its mass over in successive waves.
Okay, so we actually see those waves in these images.
Yes.
Wow. And so there's a lot of structure. Can you tell us a little more detail about what we're looking? Maybe start with this one on the left.
Yeah. So in the NIRCam image, you see this kind of bubbly, almost foamy appearance throughout the whole nebula with some very structured shells. And this foaminess is showing up in orange mainly, and this is due to the molecular hydrogen that's newly formed in the expansion, just lighting up the gas and dust of this nebula. And then as we move inward, you see this kind of very blue haze in the inner region, and this is actually due to very hot ionized gas that emits well in the blue, that's heated by the core, the leftover very hot core of this star.
And what about these like rays that I'm seeing in this image?
Right, so there's also rays in the outer regions that you can kind of see, and these are holes in the inner nebula that are actually allowing the central star's light to come out and kind of light it up like patchy clouds with the sun shining through.
Wow. Oh yeah, that's what it looks like. That's so cool. So you're actually a mid-infrared astronomer, which is different than near-infrared. And so what can you tell us about the details in this mid-infrared image?
So it looks quite different in color, partly because we're seeing different kinds of physics going on here. So we're actually seeing in the blue, you see a lot of blue. The blue is actually due to hydrocarbon grains that are emitting very strongly in the blue for Miri. And they show the very similar structures to what we see in orange and NIRCam because the molecular hydrocarbon actually forms on the surface of dust grains. And so again, as we move inward, we see that the inner region is again hot ionized gas, but now it glows red because that's where it emits longest.
My last mixtape was hot ionized gas.
Okay.
Good one.
And then as we go into the center, we see kind of the surprise for us, which is we knew this was a binary star, but we effectively didn't really see much of the actual star that produced the nebula. But now in Miri, this star glows red.
Oh, there it is. There's Australia. There's Perth. Hey. Waving to Perth, Australia. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's PNG.
And next we're going to Winnipeg, Canada. Hello, Winnipeg. At a planetarium. Everybody's enjoying the show, I hope. Okay, Dayton, Ohio. Everybody's watching on the, there we go, Dayton, Ohio. Hello, everybody, Dayton. Nice to have you here with us.
Dude, mine got caught slipping.
Hey, Dayton. Hey. They're jumping up and down. Hi. Okay, all the way Bangalore, India. Bangalore. Hello to Bangalore, India. Hey.
Bro, stop blocking it. Bro,
Absolutely wonderful.
Bro.
Hey.
Yo.
Okay. So
Getting
I
framed.
hope
There
you
you
enjoy
go.
the rest of the images we're
Hey,
releasing.
shout out to her for
Okay,
telling
of
me
course,
back the fuck
NASA's
up.
family extends all over the country. The team at JPL in Pasadena, California, they're on site to celebrate with us. So hello, JPL! Some of my favorite people in the world.
Pasadena.
Hey, hello! And then I think the last place we're going to right now is Northrop Grumman, one of our major contractors. Hello, Northrop Grumman! Oh,
Whoa!
hey, all right!
All these guys are getting. Oh, they're
Oh my God! Balloons,
Nice to see you,
balloons.
Northrop Grumman.
Balloons clap, balloons clap, balloons clap.
All right, now there's also a big watch party right here on the NASA Goddard campus.
you
Many of
swipe
these
your
people
mouse,
have
yeah.
worked on the mission itself, and we also have top NASA leadership and representatives from our government. So hello, hello, watch party at Goddard.
Keeps
Yay!
doing like a minion laugh.
Farm X.
Okay, wonderful. So, I mean, at NASA, we are so fortunate to have all of these friends and colleagues around the globe. A major partner in the Webb mission is the European Space Agency. ESA contributions have been essential to so many aspects of this project, including Webb's spectacular launch on the Ariane 5 rocket last December. I'm very pleased to turn over the show for a few minutes to Katie Haswell. She's joining me from the European Space Operations Center in Darmstadt, Germany. Hello, Katie. Good afternoon.
Wrong transition.
Always
Thanks,
excited
Michelle.
with these.
Thank you, Michelle, and welcome to Germany. We're at the European
It's no
Space
place. I'm still
Agency's
getting all kinds of
Operations,
IFB from lots of people.
Centre. It's where the teams effectively fly the satellites. They're a little bit of a cross between air traffic
IFB.
controllers and pilots. We have lots of different control rooms here. This is the main control room, and as you can see today, it's not in use, so we've been lucky enough to move in here for today. I have two very special experts with me, both scientists from the European Space Agency. Giovanna Giardino is a NIRSPEC scientist. Giovanna has been working on that for many years and lots to tell us about that. And Mark McCaughrean is a special advisor for space, for science and exploration. These two guys have been working on the Webb Space Telescope for a long time. So we're very grateful to have you with us. Thanks, folks.
Great to be here.
Pleasure.
We are excited to reveal our image with you. But before we do that, we thought we'd give you a little bit of background, because we've come here today because these guys were the first ones to pick up the signal during the Webb launch, when Webb first launched. They run a system called S-Track, which is NASA's deep space tracking system, and they were listening out when Webb called home. And the controllers here have been looking after a whole very, very impressive list of missions since 1968.
Bro.
ESA has played a very, very important role during the Webb for the Webb Space Telescope. They provided the launch on board the awesome Ariane 5 launch vehicle from the Guiana Space Center. The atmosphere in the Mission Control Center was electric, I can tell you. I was there. They've also provided people. We have 15 ESA scientists working at Space Telescope in Baltimore, and also they have provided the infrared spectrograph, the near-infrared spectrograph, and also half of the MIRI instrument, which is the mid-infrared instrument. Let's take a look at those now.
Webb's 4 scientific instruments include NIRSPEC, the near-infrared spectrograph, led by ESA. NIRSPEC splits near-infrared light from astronomical objects into its components. Like a barcode, this will help scientists understand the physics of the objects they're observing, from their temperature to atomic makeup. NIRSPEC can observe parts of an object or the sky using an image slicer and an array of microscopic shutters. Webb's integrated science instrument module, located behind the main mirror, also contains MIRI, a mid-infrared camera and spectrograph.
GTA.
Seen here during testing, MIRI's been developed by a partnership between Europe and the US. MIRI detects mid-infrared light from planets, stars and galaxies. It can analyse molecules to help us deduce what astronomical objects are made of and peer into clouds of gas and dust where stars and planets are born. Together, these instruments will help Webb detect and analyse light from the very dawn of time, revealing the universe as never before.
Mid as fuck, to be honest.
So let's get ready to reveal our image. And remember that one of Webb's jobs is to find out about galaxies, more about the galaxies, but also to help us to understand how they change. And this image is going to be very, very useful for that. Let's reveal it now.
Whoa.
There it is.
Ooh,
it's
special.
called Stephan's Quintet, and it's wondrous.
Oh, the one on the left side.
Giovanna, what are we looking at?
Yes, like it's a quintet, so we are looking at 5 galaxies. Galaxies are this giant structure that, as we've seen, we see everywhere around us in the universe. They contain from million to 100 billions of stars, and in fact we live in one of them, the Milky Way. And here we see 5 of them. This is a closer galaxy in the foreground,
like
and these 4 are at a distance of about
French, Belgian accents on top of
million light years from us, and are locked in a close interaction, a sort of cosmic dance driven by
German,
the gravitational force.
Yeah, and German, of course. But
you
still.
can see here these two in a process of merging within each other. This is a very important image and an area to study because it really shows the type of interaction that drives the evolution of galaxies. That's the mechanism of galaxies' growth.
I love this image of the cosmic dance moving through each other. Mark, there's a lot going on though in this image, isn't there?
There is. So this is a near-infrared image and a mid-infrared image combined. And when we zoom in on the left-hand side here, we see this foreground galaxy. We see lots of individual stars in there actually resolved as point sources, which is remarkable. And then as we pan across, we actually see the galaxies in the merging galaxies. We now see gas and dust, which is being heated up in the collision between those galaxies. And that's a place where new stars are being born today. So we're actually seeing the process of creation of new stars in this region.
And they're colliding
then when we
and
look in the
shit,
background here, we see not only the galaxies at 300 million light years, but also stars in our own galaxy. These snowflake structures that you see here, those are nearby stars, but in the corner and around the edges we see galaxies which are much, much more distant, much further away. So similar in some sense to the ones that we saw earlier on in that deep field. And so this image actually takes us from the nearby galaxy, our own Milky Way, through these galaxies which are evolving today all the way to the distant universe. And in a way it captures cosmic evolution of galaxies over those 13.8 billion years.
So we have another image, don't we, that we can
exactly.
look at?
So if we strip away the near-infrared view there of the stars predominantly, now in the mid-infrared with MIRI alone, we see mostly gas and dust. So we see the same galaxies again, the two merging, and then we also see something very interesting up at the top here because this top galaxy has something new and bright in the middle of it. And Giovanna, tell us what that is.
Yeah, that's an active black hole. Huh? We cannot see the black hole itself, but we see the material swirling around, being swallowed by these sort of cosmic monsters, and this gas gets heated to extremely high temperature as it falls onto the black hole, and it becomes very bright. In fact, this is outshines the galaxy. Here we see luminosity that are 40 billion times the luminosity of our suns. It's really, really bright. And with NIRSpec, we can zoom into this area, and we have this technology that allows us to take thousands of images at different wavelength channels, so see this distribution of the gas, what's going on in the gas in different regions of this core area, and understand the composition of the gas, the velocities, the temperature. So that's very important to understand physics.
So it's giving us so much information. It just shows the power of this telescope. Mark, this is just the beginning, though, isn't it?
I think that's a very important takeaway from today. You know, these are like pictures just taken over a period of 5 days, and every 5 days we're getting more data which will contribute more in that direction. It's a culmination of decades of work, but it's just the beginning of decades. And you know what we've seen today with these images is essentially that we're ready now. This telescope is working fantastically well, and you know, to borrow a phrase from a famous rock musician, you know, we're ready to turn this telescope up to 11. It really is time. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much indeed, both of you. Back to you, Michelle.
Sorry.
Thank Thanks, Katie. It is so great to have you and your colleagues with us on this historic day. So before we get to the fifth and final image reveal of the day, it cannot be said enough that an achievement like the James Webb Space Telescope is something bigger than any one of us. It's bigger than any organization, any country. This truly takes a planet. Webb belongs to all of us, and starting today, the discoveries start and they're not going to stop. This is just the beginning. We've said several times throughout the broadcast that the Webb mission is about people, and during the construction of the Great Telescope, people started to see themselves in it, literally. Day after day, people visited the observation window at NASA Goddard, and looking through the glass, they snapped selfies of themselves reflected in the gigantic golden mirror. These photos are actual reflections of the enormous human investment and the emotional commitment that brought this mission to life. And now, years later, that mission is finally collecting light from the earliest days of the universe, all the way to worlds in our own solar system. It's the same mirror that reflected the many faces who see themselves as part of the journey to understand our shared origins. Let's stop for a moment and appreciate the people behind Webb. Okay, it's time now for the last image to be revealed. Here we go.
The grand finale. Starbird. Starburst?
Wait, it's the same studio. Bro?
So Amber Strawn is Webb's deputy project scientist. She's here with me today to share the final big reveal of the day. So Amber, it is so good to see you. How are you feeling?
So great, so exciting. What a great day this is.
Yes, so one of the things that we're going to do is before we get to the final image, the James Webb Space Telescope has taken us all over the universe today. So let's do a quick review of where we've been so far. So Jane Rigby got us rolling today with an extraordinary new deep field image, showing us one of the farthest views of the universe ever.
Yeah, this image really does demonstrate that JWST can do exactly what we've designed it to do.
Yes. And the Canadian Space Agency then took us to the massive planet WASP 96b, where the team has detected evidence of atmospheric water.
And here again, we're seeing the incredible efficiency of this observatory. We're able to do these kind of measurements in a fraction of the time that we're able to before.
And then we zipped up the road from NASA Goddard to the Space Telescope Science Institute, where Alex and Carl showed us the exquisite Southern Ring Nebula, a mixing bowl of stellar matter around a pair of dying stars.
Yeah, and I'm just blown away by the level of detail we can see, like in the outer part of this nebula. It's incredible.
Wow. Okay. After that, it was off to Germany, where the European Space Agency wowed us with pictures of galaxies interacting and mixing together.
Right, and this image, again, it's incredible because it's showing us one of these fundamental processes of the universe, how galaxies merge together, and we're able to learn about these processes in a brand new way.
So the Webb team has a lot to cheer about right now. So across the campus, there's this big watch party, and we can feel the excitement all the way from over here. So let's join that celebration now. We're back with Senior Project Scientist John Mather, along with the head of NASA's Science Mission Directorate, Thomas Zurbuchen. Hello.
You guys got a good headline, and it's kind of holding strong.
So, John, we looked around the world, and we're the only ones with a cheerleading crew right over there. That's amazing. Look, you've been with this mission for decades. How do you feel today?
I am so thrilled and so relieved. This was so hard, and it took so long. It's just impossible to convey how hard it really was. That we risked so much to say we're going to go do this, and it's so near impossible, but we did it.
Yeah, there are thousands of ways this can go wrong.
Yes.
Many of them, we worried about and frankly feared even after launch. I have to tell you, I was really, really nervous, and it's almost like athletics for me. You always get to know the team when they're on the field. And on the field, they were right after this launch, and they were perfect.
They absolutely were, and I really wasn't worried, but maybe I should have been.
Yeah, that's difference between the two of us. I always worry. I always tell everybody I'm paid to worry, frankly, and that's good. What we want to do, though, is just really thank the team again. Of course, we heard Bill and Scott and Greg talking about the team that is there. I think what's also important is to recognize that Bernie is sitting there, who was the first manager. I was sitting there. Could you stand up?
Wedding DJs.
And I want to mention that Phil Sablehouse, who is a manager also during that time, is no longer with us, but his heart is with us today.
Oh, yeah.
I have to tell you, John, after each one of these milestones, I called a lot of people. I called Bernie, for example, and I called people at my job and people who are administrators, because there's many of them. And I just wonder how you feel about the team. Just give you the word here.
I am just so thrilled that we had a privilege to assemble such a brilliant team. We drew from the best of the best, and here we are. So my extreme deep thanks go to all the people who built that team. Not only to Bernie, who started us and helped us build up all the technology, to Phil, who made sure we would have a plan, and then when we didn't have quite enough money, to Bill, who pulled it all together and made it get all the way to the end. I am so thrilled that we had so much talent to draw on. And here we are, we have the support of the country and the world to take on this immense challenge.
You know what I'm most excited about? There's tens of thousands of scientists, and frankly, some of them just got born, or not even born, who are benefiting
do any of these cocks let their women go to the club? I don't think so.
It will be. We have. It took us about 25 years to get here since 1995, and we have at least 25 to go. I hope.
So look, we are in a sense of these images, the art that is out there in the sky, revealed for the first time. We're thinking of the team and we're thanking them. John, thanks to you, thanks to all of you, and back to Michelle.
Thank you so much, Thomas. And this entire collection continues to just absolutely astound me. Okay, Amber, so here it is. Can you walk us through the final image reveal?
Absolutely. Here we go.
The last image is, wow, look at that. So, Amber, can you tell us a bit about what we're seeing here?
Of course. This stunning vista of the cosmic cliffs of the Carina Nebula reveals new details about this vast stellar nursery. Today, for the first time, we're seeing brand new stars that were previously completely hidden from our view.
There's something you want to point out here?
Absolutely. So, honestly, it took me a while to even figure out what to call out in this image. There's just so much going on here. It's so beautiful. One thing that really stands out to me is you sort of get this sense of depth and texture from this new data. There's a lot going on. To call out a few specifics, first of all, in general, the Carina Nebula is a nearby star-forming region within our own Milky Way galaxy, about 7,600 light years away. And in this view, we see some great examples, first of all, of hundreds of new stars that we've never seen before. We see examples of bubbles and cavities and jets that are being blown out by these newborn stars. We even see some galaxies sort of lurking in the background up here. We see examples of structures that, honestly, we don't even know what they are. Like, what's going on here? The data is just so rich.
And there's something really special about the infrared. Infrared can actually see deeper into these star-forming regions.
Absolutely. That's one of the great things about infrared, is it really does reveal what's going on here in a really cosmic sense. And in general, what's happening in sort of this overall landscape is we have these gigantic, hot, young stars up here to the top of this rim, and the radiation and stellar winds from those stars is sort of pushing down and running into all of this. This is gas and dust, and of course we know that gas and dust is great raw material for newborn stars and baby planets. But there's a flip side to this story, and also a little bit of a mystery, because these same processes can serve to sort of erode away this material and stop star formation. So we have this sort of delicate balance going on of new stars being formed, but at the same time, the star formation is being halted. And for me, when I see an image like this, I can't help but think about scale. You know, every dot of light we see here is an individual star, not unlike our sun, and many of these likely also have planets. And it just reminds me that, you know, our sun and our planets and ultimately us were formed out of the same kind of stuff that we see here. We humans really are connected to the universe. We're made of the same stuff in this beautiful landscape.
And actually, the Carina Nebula was one of my favorite images from Hubble. So Hubble looked at this as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The Hubble image of this is also spectacular. We saw it in a different kind of light when Hubble took an image of this particular nebula.
Actually,
and then you can see amazing things with Hubble, but when we zoom in to this new image, we're able to see so much more detail. And of course, all of us, I grew up on Hubble, and all of us love Hubble. And I'm so excited to see what these two amazing observatories are able to do really in tandem with each other.
Thank you so much. And again, congratulations. It's been a pleasure to be working on this with you. I'm just amazed by what's been going on.
Thank you.
So as we're wrapping up, one of the things that I really have to say is the journey that we've been going on is so very dramatic for me. So we've gone all the way from the birth of stars, and we have all the way from the distant galaxies to the birth of stars. This is where we all began. This was the whole point of the James Webb Space Telescope, to figure out our origins from the very, very early days of the universe to star and planet formation very nearby. So right now I'm very honored to have our last special guest. This is the administrator of NASA, Bill Nelson. An honor to be with you, sir.
Hey, what a pleasure. What a banner day. It's clear that Webb represents the best of NASA. It maintains our ability to propel us forward for science, for risk-taking, for inspiration. And we don't want to ever stop exploring the heavens, nor stop daring to take another step forward for humanity.
Joe Biden at home.
In the words of the famous Carl Sagan, somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known. I think those words are becoming reality.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Michelle.
An honor to have you here. Thank you very much. Wow. So this is a celebration for all humanity. If you've ever looked up at the night sky and wonder, whoever you are, wherever you are,
bro, just a question mark again, but guys, I wasn't wrong. Okay? The speed of light is cringe. Okay?
Okay, here we go.